bahati kidogo. Right now, before we start, please, changamka. No,
you can't manufacture food from the factory. You can't create food from thin air. So agriculture is actually what produces food.
There is a procedure that has been laid down by law, like in the Employment Act of 2007.
Now talking of a digital world, why don't we just find out how we can maybe use the machines to make agriculture more income generating?
There's this belief that we actually don't have enough financing, right? There was a point, I was part of a business incubator, and I got to see the other side of the equation.
I'm Hussein Robert, and this is the train show. A show that gives you more than 1,000 plus 1 result. The show that puts you on a journey of understanding matters entrepreneurship. Now, today, before we start the show, I would want to go through the news highlights, the things that have been making highlights, headline the week, throughout the week, globally and locally. Now, the first thing that has been making the headline is the Pandora Papers. The Pandora Papers, the president of this country, that is His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, and his family has been on the lookout, and people have been looking at them because they are one of the families that has been highlighted that have been benefiting, or they have been working with these offshore accounts, and this offshore account has been affiliated with some of them that not very good, like tax evasion, corruption, money laundering, and among others. Also, this is coming at a time. During this tough economic time, I'm having in the studio one of the experienced employers and employees of this time, and I would want to get the opinion on the same before we move forward. Mr. Njoroge, as we talk about the Pandora, what is your take on the same?
So, thank you, Hussein. I think as you mentioned, we are receiving this information about the Pandora Papers at a time when the economy is struggling, at a time when the cost of living is very high. So, to the majority of the population in Kenya, this information that some of our leaders could be hiding their wealth in offshore accounts in tax havens, it's very concerning because it shows you, one, the confidence that they have in the Kenyan financial system. Because if you are president of Kenya, or if you have been a minister in a government in Kenya in the past, and you are the first family of Kenya, why would you need to go and hide your wealth in offshore accounts abroad if you're not concerned about the state of order? Because that tells you that if we were to experience a situation where the national order breaks down in Kenya, there are people in this country who have homes in London, in very prime residential areas in Westminster. They have apartments in Hong Kong that they can go to. Where would the rest of us go, Hussein? Some of us have to go back to Muranga and live off the farm in Muranga. So it's very unfortunate. Well, of course, owning or having offshore accounts is not illegal, but if you are doing it at the highest level of government, then it tells you, the citizens, a lot about the confidence that you have in the nation as their leader. So it should concern us all.
I think at the same time as we talk about the Pandora Papers, we have also been having issues concerning the Facebook and so on. And because in the house, in this room today, I'm having a tech person, tech-savvy guy, I would want to invite Mr. Julius Mutunga also to give his comment on the same as we talk about Facebook and so on, and move forward.
All right, thank you, Hussein. As you've heard, my name is Julius from Fourtech Global Solutions. And over the last few days, I was actually at a client trying to solve or rather install a software, and I'm trying to send a message to my other colleague to communicate on what's exactly happening, only to realize that WhatsApp and Facebook are down. I'm wondering what's happening, not my bundles at all. So what does this tell you? Some of these are very controversial topics, and there are very many cases on what exactly happened is that the records which actually route you, they are called the name servers. They were removed. That is the AA records and the A record. They were removed from the main routing tables. So that means that if you try and access WhatsApp or Instagram or Facebook, you are not able to find it because the records are no longer there. It's like the path to your residential address is not there, so you are not able to reach it out. So there are so many things which can actually lead to this, such as fights internally. It can also be fights globally, but with time we'll be able to figure out or rather understand what exactly led to this. So those are my comments on the same, but it was very unfortunate for such tech giants to be out of operation for even more than 6 hours.
Okay. Now, also based on just on the news briefings and the headlines, on Business Daily, you realize that the first story that really caught my attention again is that the Treasury should be paying the motorists 18 billion for the costly fuel. Now, the National Assembly Finance Committee, after having their committee and so on, they decided or reasoned out that the Treasury abused the Petroleum Department levy funds by giving cash out to supporting the SGR building and so on, and therefore the motorists will be refunded 18 billion. My question then would be, how will this happen and how many motorists are we talking about and so on? Then the last question, the last thing that has been making the problem is that MTN Uganda has given out the shares to Kenyans so that they can buy up to 132 billion, and that is, I think this will be one of the potentially largest IPO that will be very beneficial to the investors in this country. Now, as I mentioned, we are having a show today, and the topic of this discussion is entrepreneurship and employability during these tough economic times. Now, we talk at this time when the employment rate is really going down, and in the room, as I mentioned, I'm having Mr. Njoroge Laban is one of the communication person at Cusco. Cusco is the Kenya Union of Saving and Credit Cooperative, and Mr. Julius Mutunga is the managing director at Fourtech Global Solution. So he's a tech guy, as I mentioned, and he's the person that is going to talk to us about loans. And as we talk about entrepreneurship, how do we get the funds? If we are supposed to go for loans, what is the process, and the viability and the accessibility of it. Now, thank you so much and welcome again to the Trend Show. My name is Hussein Robert, and this is the show that is putting you on a journey to understanding matters in entrepreneurship and giving the youths opportunity to think instead of looking for a job, how can you think of creating one, or maybe just fending yourself, other means of fending yourself, but legal ones. Now, my first question that I wanted to ask you, Mr. Njoroge, in 5 words, who are you? 5 words.
Thank you, Hussein. I'm a Kenyan. I'm a digital egalitarian. And I'm among Time Magazine top 7 billion most important people.
Okay, you used more than 5 words. Mr. Julius, 5 words. Who is Julius?
All right, in 5 words, Julius is a young lad,
yes,
in website design and development,
yes,
and server administration.
Okay, you almost got it, but you also had extra words. Yeah. Now, Julius, you are the MD of Fourtech Global Solution. Now, what is Fourtech Global Solution?
Fourtech Global Solutions. It's a company incorporated under the Kenyan Company Act, and which basically deals with web design and development, application design and development, and customized client solutions ranging from point of sales to ERPs for clients. On the side, we also do branding for organizations and also do deal with supplies for laptops and phones as well. So that's Fourtech Global Solutions in a nutshell.
Mr. Julius, I would want to ask you, you graduated recently and you've set up your own enterprise and doing business. based on how you performed in school and so on, you ever became one of the chair of RUI Tech, and you were very interactive with your colleagues, and that also opened the doors for you across. Why didn't you look for a job?
All right, thank you. I really like that question. My entrepreneurial mindset really started a long time ago. I remember when I joined my first year, I used to sell pop sockets to students in Riara University. I even went to a level of actually selling pop sockets to people in town at one of my aunt's office.
Yeah.
So I could actually go flow by flow, trying to convince people why they should actually buy my pop sockets and why they were the best. So if you ever ask someone in Riara how they got to know me, it was through the pop sockets I used to sell. With that, I developed my entrepreneurial mindset, and I also moved on to, I tried employment at once, at some point in life. I joined Ekuru Aukot, that Alliance Kenya, for 1.5 years. I was there as a developer doing the Punguza Mizigo platform. So we managed to launch it and host, and it went live. So the rest we could only ask the government and the Pandora Papers. So my entrepreneurial mindset really set in a long time ago. After that employment period, I decided to be on my own and really started working on myself.
Okay. Mr. Laban.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you, we are in a tech generation, yeah? And because being that we're in a tech generation, it means that technology is coming up and is shaping the landscape of employment and everything. Do you think that as we grow technically, we get to advance more things, learn and be innovative and creative and so on? Do you think the employment of this country, the people, if a job was supposed to be done by 20 people, now technology will ensure that the job has only 5 people? Where do the 15 people go?
Okay, thank you, Hussein. I think I would want to approach this issue from a historical context in terms of IT, because if you read the history of the Industrial Revolution, there was a lot of concern with mechanization, because when the Industrial Revolution happened in Europe in the 1850s, it shed off some jobs, because mechanizing ended up laying off some people.
Sure.
So there was fear that with the advancement of the Industrial Revolution, it would lead to massive unemployment. But as we have seen since then, that every new technology, when it comes up, it ends up creating more jobs or more opportunities. So with the current fourth Industrial Revolution, I don't think this means disaster for jobs. In fact, it's a boon. If you are to look at the employment landscape 20 years ago, we didn't have so many of these positions that we are having now. You have people who are developing apps, we didn't have them then. You have people who are doing websites, who are owning IT companies as him, that were not, we didn't have them 20 years ago. So tech, instead of leading to a situation where we have massive unemployment, it ends up creating jobs. It's just a shift of jobs from what people are doing traditionally to creating new opportunities, but mostly in the services industry. So what initially was done by a lot of people, it moves to the services industry and ends up creating more opportunities. So I don't think this should be a concern. It's just that people need to adapt, because in the future, we are going to live in a world where we have to do a lot of relearning. 20 years ago or 30 years ago, if you went to school and you started to be a teacher, you worked in teaching for 30, 40 years until you retired. But now, you go to school today, you study a course, 5 years later, you need to acquire another skill, because the world has become more competitive. There are new technologies that we don't even know about today that will dominate the world 10, 15 years from now. So we have to do a lot of reskilling. And this is not just for individuals, but even for employers. Because people that were employed 15 years ago and have not been to school or acquired any skill today, it means that they are working in using knowledge that they garnered 15 years ago and may not even be so much relevant today. So I think for individuals and employers, we have to invest a lot in reskilling.
In reskilling, yeah?
Yes.
My tech-savvy guy is just listening to me. Mr. Julius, on the same.
I would also say the same. I am supporting my colleague here. If you look at the kind of opportunities we're actually getting from the emerging technologies, there are way many. Think of machine learning, think of artificial intelligence. These are platforms which are going to generate even more jobs, in as much as you might think that there would be jobs, or rather the jobs will be replaced by these upcoming robots. On the same, if you look at machine learning, this can actually handle, you can actually be able to even deliver so much within a short span of a while. And if you compare that with another individual who is doing the same thing, they won't be able to deliver as much as that machine will do. So that means that with time, these machines will actually need people who can even do the maintenance, and you can even upgrade them to the next level, as compared to the people who won't even be growing, seated at the same seat in the office and doing the same thing for years. So machine learning would definitely, machine learning and the rest of the emerging technologies would definitely help us create more employment opportunities
in the country. Yeah? Now, Mr. Julius, I want to ask you, because you are one person that is working in the tech industry, and now that we are talking about technology and it creating more jobs, yeah, give me a situation in this country, hypothetically talking or speaking. Look at a parent who is living in the village, yeah, might not have a smartphone or so. How is technology going to boost what they does on a daily basis to increase their economical strength, yeah, so that they can be more financially stable at the end of the day, yet they have not gone to school, or maybe they don't have the opportunity to go back to school and learn more and relearn about this tech industry?
All right, very good topic. I don't know whether you've actually heard about digital inclusion. This is a project aimed at supporting everybody, no matter where they are from, to be able to understand technology at their level. If it is my grandmother back in Shags, they are actually presented with a phone, which is actually written, or rather it's programmed in its local dialect. So that means that they can actually be able to do their daily processes via a phone which is actually programmed in their language. That's very easy to understand. So with such kind of projects, you'll actually find that at the end of maybe the month or the year, what they're actually doing, it's even way more easy as compared to when they were not having those gadgets. When these gadgets will be introduced, you'll find that they luckily need very little training or none at all. So this is something which will actually help these people understand the technology even way better.
Now, when we talk of that, then what would you say is the future of technology? Give me the future of technology in 10, 20 years from now.
I think we'll see a lot of emergence of new technologies, especially in artificial intelligence, as he's saying, and machine learning, and a lot of use of these technologies in business and in daily activities, that economic activities that people are engaging in. We'll see the adoption of this technology in delivery of services by governments. Currently, we are using the current tech to access government services. For example, now I don't have to queue at NTSA all day for me to renew my driving license. So that was not available 10, 15 years from now. So 10, 15 years ago. So 10, 15 years from now, this new technology that we have now, of course, the issue of artificial intelligence, the issue of biotechnology, we'll see a lot of solutions, even in health. Because with tech, we are getting to learn our bodies better. We understand pathogens better. And you can see the evidence of that with how fast we have developed a vaccine for COVID-19. If you talk to pharmacists, they'll tell you that the process involved in coming up with a vaccine would take years, but it has taken us months. So, of course, with a lot of training, and adoption by a vast majority of the population, the future portends a lot of opportunity, not just in the tech industry, but in other industries, because technology is going to permeate all these industries. You'll get access to better healthcare, you'll get access to better education, you'll get access to better services from your government. Of course, that all facilitated by technology.
Yeah, actually, I think also to mention in the same that you're making, I think advancement in technology has really shaped the landscape of everything in this country right now, because when COVID-19 came, it came with a lot of challenges, and that technology has even changed on how we learn. Today there is online learning, and this is a culture that had not been embraced fully by our country or our system some few years ago before COVID. But now when COVID came, it forced us to be having, most of the things became virtual, that you can access them easily without having to be in class physically. And also you can follow court proceedings while at home and so on. Now, well, we have everything, we can speak of everything that comes with tech development, which I also buy and agree, because where we are going, tech is very important. It will make our work easier. And of course, from where I come from, nothing good comes without its own downside. Mr. Julius, because you're in the tech industry, what are some of the downsides that you want to talk about, or you think you can foresee from now in the future, that now when we get there, most probably the challenges that we might be facing, because again, as we grow, as that time comes, the challenges we are facing today will not be the same, might not be exactly the same, because he has mentioned health. Now it means with new tech, health will be better, right? Now we have a challenge right now, but by then it will be better. But again, tech will come with other issues now on board. What do you foresee from where you stand, being that you're also having knowledge in the same field?
Thank you, Robert. The challenges which actually come with running a company, they are quite, I would call them, they are quite humongous. They are very tricky if you're not able to approach them or rather if you're not able to foresee them from the word go. Some of the challenges which we've actually been expecting in our tech industry is, first of all, competition around. There are so many people who have also come up with the same things and the same offers, and very enticing offers to even offer to the clients. And we have to make sure that every day, as we said, we have to relearn these skills and make sure that we are having our skills at the fingertips, so that we're able to cope up with the emerging technologies. Other challenges include managing your employees as well. You have to actually find the best ways on how to be the best employer. But no one is perfect. We are always learning, but one of the major challenges is how you can actually manage your employees. That's like the engine of the company. If you don't have employees, definitely nothing is going to run. If you start mistreating, or if you start favoring some employees and not doing what is needed to the rest, that's definitely the start of your downfall. So many challenges out there in terms of also financials. You have to make sure that you are growing at the pace of your business. Otherwise, you'll actually go home very fast. That's something I would actually talk into detail, though I don't know whether you would allow me. So in that, if you want to actually, if you are aiming to run your business efficiently, first of all, make sure you understand what are your strengths. And with those strengths, you can be able to now know, if these are my strengths, I will be able to move in and make something out of it. Once I see that I am making more than enough, or rather more than what I can handle, you can actually bring in somebody else on board who will now assist you. Grow from that level, move on to the next level, and the next level, and the next level. By the time you realize you've actually built a team which you can actually relate with from where you started, but not just jumping into it and expecting that everything will go on smoothly.
Okay. Mr. Laban,
yes.
Anything that you'd want to mention on the same?
Well, I would say that we are seeing a lot of concerns on issues of course, with technology, you have challenges such as cyber attacks. Sure. I work in a sector that has, for so long, not been so responsive to technology. So most statistics that we are getting over the last 3 years tell us that the SACCO sector is facing a lot of cyber attacks. As recent as last year, we had 2 SACCOs in Mount Kenya region that lost a lot of money in cyber attacks. But the positive thing is that most SACCOs in the movement are now, of course with COVID, has forced them to adopt IT, because COVID reduced office visits. It reduced face-to-face meetings. So they have to adopt technology to deliver services to members. That's a positive because that helps them not just adopt the technology, but also invest in cyber security solutions, so which is a good thing. I think the only other challenge is in terms of regulation. The government needs to be very responsive in regulating some of these sectors. Last year we saw the enactment of the Data Protection Act, yes, which was a good thing, but I think the uptake has been quite slow. Yes.
I would also add something onto that. On the bit about regulating these companies, especially in the IT sector. If you're a client out there, you're looking for a service and you have quality in mind, make sure that the company which you're working for is regulated under the ICT Authority of Kenya. That is in terms of ICT, because these are people who are able to identify if this company is actually capable of doing or rather offering some of these services. And on the same thing, you can also be lured by you can actually be given some very good offers by university students, and it's very easy to fall for them, because a project which could actually go for, to be completed fully, a project which could go for 400,000, a university student will come and tell you that I can actually do this for even 20 or 50,000. But they're not sure, they've not seen the light at the end of the tunnel. There's actually one thing which is starting a project and another bit which is finishing it. So it's very important to consider some of these issues when you're actually venturing into some of these areas.
Now, thank you so much
for the feedback that you've given me so far. Now we're having this show courtesy of Fourtech Global Solution, and because of that, we're going to take a short commercial break. And when we come back after that break, we're going to talk direct into matters in entrepreneurship and how to get money and how to start business and so on. Without taking much more time, take us for a break, then we come back and discuss that. Yeah. Okay, welcome back to the show. I'm Hussein Robert and this is The Train Show. And now the show is putting you on a journey on understanding matters entrepreneurship and business and leadership and so on. In the first part of this show, we were talking about tech, and now this time round on this segment, we're going to talk about entrepreneurship and business. Now, I'm having Mr. Ngumbo Njoroge and Julius Mutunga. Julius Mutunga is the managing director at Fourtech Global Solution. Their company does web design and development. They do digital marketing. They do creative logo and printing and so on. They do company profile design, and they also do they supply doorbells, laptops, and accessories and so on. Now, Mr. Julius, my question that I would want to ask you is that when you're forming or coming up with a business enterprise, what are some of the challenges that you face along the way and you need to overcome, so that anyone that would want to come up with their own businesses, they should at least anticipate for some challenges and challenges on the way?
I thank you for that. Number one challenge is your mindset. We always say that with discipline comes great success. For such entrepreneurial actions, you definitely have to consider being disciplined and a disciplined individual. If not that way, just consider having an 8 to 5 job kindly. On a serious note, by the way, on the same bit, another challenge is also sometimes we might actually ask ourselves, am I really fit? Or rather, you might have that inner fear of whether you are capable of this. But the moment you actually set your mind into that and you tell yourself that this is actually what I want, that's something I can achieve, you start small, and by the time you realize it, people are noticing you. And by the time you realize it, you also have support from all over, which is now you're on your journey on the way to the top, because that is where we all aim. I would also give this opportunity to my colleague to also talk about some of the other challenges as well.
Okay, thank you, Hussein. Unlike him, I'm not an employer.
Sure.
So maybe I could approach this question from an employee perspective. But anyway, if you look at the landscape of Kenya, so to say, I think one challenge that most businesses are facing at the moment is in terms of regulation. And especially businesses at the counties, because you end up in a situation where you have to get a license from the county government, you have to get another one from NEMA, you have to get another. There are so many bodies, government bodies, that have to clear you to do business. And in as much as the head of state, for example, tells us that Kenya has improved in the ease of doing business index, that is not the case. Because if you talk to most SMEs that are doing business in Kenya, here in Nairobi or in the counties, they are facing a lot of challenges, and most of those challenges are about regulation and about taxation. The tax regime in this country is so high. It's almost impossible for small SMEs that have a turnover of less than 500,000 every year to do business in Kenya. And even for big businesses, we know big businesses now that are shifting their operations from Kenya to other countries in the region, because one, here the taxation regime is so punitive, and then the cost of doing business is also quite high. The cost of power in Kenya is very high compared to our peers in the region. So we end up in a situation where, in as much as SMEs people want to venture into business through SMEs, as I'm saying, they find a lot of punitive, a very punitive legal framework, and they have to take a back seat.
Okay. I think I like how you've just addressed the question. But again, Mr. Julius, you are an employer. So it means that by the time this show will be ending, and maybe by the end of this year or maybe next year, you will start receiving quite a number of CVs of people that are looking for a job with your organization, you see. Now, what are some of the challenges? Because I know you are not alone. You are an institution, you are a body, you work with other people, you've employed other people that you are working with on a daily basis. What are some of the challenges that you face with these employees, the current employees that you are employing, you know? Now, not you starting a business, but now the people that you are working with. What's the challenge?
Number one challenge, thank you for that. Number one challenge in this bit is the working culture. When I look at the environment I have grown in, and when I look at some of the people, or rather the employees I usually interact with, the working culture is completely different. And if you're not a person who is understanding, you'll actually get to the edge very easily. Because, for instance, if you actually assign somebody to actually work on a task, and it's a very simple task which might even require 30 minutes, that task can actually take a whole day or even more than a day, which when there's actually full total commitment, that's a task which can be achieved very easily. So I would assume that all the people who are applying to maybe some of these positions, kindly ensure that you have built a culture where you're able to operate without any influence, or rather you're able to operate as who you are. Don't be influenced by the other people out there by just coming to the office and watching movies there. So kindly be yourself and improve on your work culture. So on the other bit about the challenges which we definitely face with our current employees is the skill set. You find that most of the time somebody will actually come on board and tell you that they can be able to achieve this and this and that. But then when you actually go through a thorough process of actually interviewing the candidate, it becomes it's a completely different result. And this leads to even you just disqualifying people just because they're not able to meet your standards. You definitely want to provide the best for your clients out there. You can't just give somebody an opportunity and they are not able to achieve what you want.
Okay. I think I would want to ask Mr. Laban here, being that I know you are well familiarized with the system of education that we have in this country. Yeah. Would you want to blame our system of education for the mistakes that is highlighting the challenges they face with employees? Could it be our system of education, or it's parenting, or is individual?
No, I don't think we have a challenge with the system of education. In fact, we have one of the best education systems in this part of the world. Our institutions of higher learning constantly rank very high in global rankings and even in continental rankings. I think the challenge that we are facing is work ethic, what he's referring to as work culture. You have a set of people who want to be paid, but they don't want to work. So I think we need to rework that socialization, because you have people who have skills, they turn up at a place of work, but they want to sit all day, and then in the evening they want to be paid. So the company has hired you because they're depending on your skill set to increase their productivity and increase the amount of money that they are making. So if you are not rendering that skill, if you're not rendering that service that you're supposed to render, then there is no reason why you should wait for payday. So people need to rework on their work culture. And in as much as we are saying that there is high unemployment in this country, we generally have a population that does not have a work ethic. So we need to re-engineer that. Our education system is okay. It just needs a little bit of tweaking so that it also prepares you for the job market. When I was in university 15, 16 years ago, we went to university with a lot of optimism that after graduation, we would easily transition into the job market. But I think there are one or two things that the university did not prepare us for, and that is a foundational course on preparing for the job market. We turned up on day one, there was an induction, and straight after that induction, you went to class, and then on the last day, you probably submitted a project, but none of those training areas focused on preparing you for the job market. So most of those things, you end up learning them on the way.
You've just talked about, don't you think it could be advisable if maybe in our education system, a course or a unit is offered, put on offer, especially in fourth year, when people, fourth year and third year, when now they're getting ready for the job market, now that they'll be taught about work ethic and so on. Do you think that can at least solve some problem, if not everything?
Well, I think that's important. In fact, it should not even be at the fourth year. It should be one of the foundational courses in your formative years when you join the institution of higher learning. So this is a course that you should train you on values, because the issue of work ethic is also a lack of value. I mean, people who are lacking values. Most institutions today have teamwork as one of their core values. They have integrity, but some of those challenges that employers like him are facing are lack of integrity and lack of teamwork. So institutions of higher learning should consider, and this is a challenge to the Ministry of Education, that they should take up this and introduce this in the education system. When I was in university, there was a general course, a common course on entrepreneurship. So that should also be factored in. So if you're teaching, if you're teaching students on entrepreneurship, you should also teach them values and work ethic. So that's something that should be factored, but not at the 4th year, as you're saying, but I think at 1st year or 2nd year, so that as you're going for your internship in 3rd year, at least you know some of these things and you can apply them, because internship at 3rd year is supposed to prepare you for the job market. And besides that, besides preparing you for the job market, it should also prepare you to be a job creator. I'm very impressed by my fellow panelists, because he just graduated from university a few years ago, but now he's running a successful IT company, and he's also an employer. In fact, he should be a model to most of us, or to most young people in this country, because that is the way to go. So instead of just sitting at home and sending CVs and expecting to be invited for job interviews, I think there is also something that you can do. And it has to start right from when you're in the university. It doesn't start the day you graduate. You don't start conceiving those ideas after you have returned the graduation gown to the university. It should start maybe around 2nd year, 3rd year, 4th year. And that is the way we can grow, or we can develop this country, we can grow our economy.
Now, the reason why I was thinking, or I was mentioning that suppose we have it in 4th year or 3rd year, you know, in campus, you realize that when people are in 1st year and 2nd year, they do all the units to pass exams. So they will always wait for the assignments and ensure the assignment is delivered and so on. And again, the people, when you are in 1st year or 2nd year, a chance, that is maybe a chance or maybe not, you might not have learned much, or you don't know much that you want to be. You don't know what you want to be at the end of the day. But I think when someone is in 4th year or 3rd year, don't you think they have a clear picture of who they want to be, what they want to do? Now the reality also dawns at home that, you know, after finishing this campus, my parents will also expect me to take responsibility. The first way to take responsibility is to take responsibility of myself, you know, like, and so on. But again, that's said and done. I think that is a recommendation that is good for the higher learning institutions, so that they can make a change. Mr. Julius, do you have any comment on the same?
What I would say actually about, especially on the culture about it, it's something which should start from the parentinghood as well. If you have seen or observed our parents currently, these are people who have also sunk into the kind of the culture which has led to such kind of our generation, wanting the best for their children, but forgetting that we still need to teach them how to go fishing out there. That's the most important thing I was taught when I was growing up. I remember I really wanted to actually have the best of life, but at the same time, no one was actually giving me any source of funds. So definitely it pushes you to even go further and try to see what you can actually do to improve on yourself. And from such a culture, it's what now builds up a mentality which can be able to adapt to the current economic whole situations, no matter the times.
Okay. Now, we're having this show
Courtesy of Fourtech Global Solution, and I was told, preview to the show, that we have a gift for one of the participants, the people that will be participating. Remember that this show is live on YouTube, and therefore when you comment and you follow the discussion and you get your input on the discussion, you can stand a chance of winning the gift that will be given today by the company that is represented by the managing director, Julius. So kindly keep on replying to those messages, be on the constant look, and follow the conversation, and be interactive, and so on. Now, my next question that I would want to ask you, because you are working with Cusco, will you highlight what does Cusco does? What do they do, at the end of the day, so that as we get other questions, the audience will really understand in depth what Cusco does. Yeah.
Thank you, Hussein. Cusco is the Kenya Union of Savings and Credit Cooperatives. It is a voice and lobbyist for SACCOs in Kenya. So much of what we do at Cusco is advocacy in terms of advocating for a favorable legal environment for SACCOs in Kenya. We currently draw a membership from about 7,000 SACCOs that are placed in different regions of Kenya. So savings and credit cooperatives, I would say, they are the last mile of financial inclusion in Kenya. Currently, according to the recent statistics, SACCOs have mobilized deposits of about 600 billion shillings. They have assets of about 700 billion shillings. And in terms of loans, they have also attracted about 400 billion shillings. So at Cusco, besides advocacy, we also offer other services to SACCOs in Kenya, part of which includes research and consultancy. We also do trainings for SACCOs. We do insurance business with SACCOs. We also have a housing cooperative, Cusco Housing Cooperative, which is open to individuals and also to groups. And besides that, we also run a very informative publication, which is known as the SACCO Star Magazine, and that is part of what I do at Cusco.
Okay. Mr. Julius, you are an entrepreneur, an employer, and a boss. Sources of finances when people want to start a business.
All right. Sources of finances. I won't start talking about wash here. I will start talking about the way you have to go down there and start from the scratch. As I said earlier on, this is something you actually have to think about. If it's in you, definitely go for it. If it's in you, start small. Start showcasing what you're capable of. Somebody out there will start realizing it. That's the point now. You'll actually do something for somebody or a job for someone. It can be an application, it can be a website, it can be even a poster or even a logo. Start small. With that, you continue growing at the pace of which your business is currently growing. With time, you'll actually be shocked and realize that you are growing than you expected, because people have already started knowing who you are, what your brand is. You've built your brand around you, and you are doing great work for people. There comes referrals. Your client will actually refer you to another person who, of course, will actually reach out and give you the job because they believe in you. At the end of it all, it's more of a cycle. Let me just put it that way. At the end of it all, interested parties will even start coming to you, not even you approaching them. That's usually the short cycle of what you're doing, so long as you're able to do it perfectly and show that you're capable of doing it.
Doing what you want to do and do it good, yeah?
Exactly.
Mr. Laban,
Yes.
at Cusco, you work with the SACCOs. So Cusco is the mother of the SACCOs that we see a number of them. And you've mentioned that you have like 7,000, right? Yes. Now, do these SACCOs, they offer loan? How is the accessibility of the loan using this SACCO, through the SACCOs or from the SACCOs? At the end of the day, how their accessibility?
Well, one, I would want to say that SACCOs are in the business of savings and extending credit. So SACCOs are member-owned. So that means that these institutions pool resources together, and it is from these resources that members access affordable credit. So unlike other financial institutions whose names I wouldn't want to mention in this show, SACCOs make it affordable for members in terms of, one, SACCOs you enjoy lower interest rates with SACCOs, and you have a longer repayment period. Nowadays, you see a lot of people turning to these easy access mobile loans, which have very punitive interest rates, and their repayment period is very brief. So if I am advising young people who would want to venture into business and you are seeking access to finance, I think the SACCO model is the way to go. What you need to do is that you just need to identify a SACCO, because there are so many of them in the market, that works best for you. We have two types of SACCOs, or we classify them into two types. One, we have what are known as deposit-taking SACCOs. So these SACCOs have a service known as front office service activities. And then we have non-deposit-taking SACCOs, which offer back office services activities. So for the non-deposit-taking SACCOs, the model is that you're saving in this SACCO. These are non-withdrawable deposits, but I can always borrow against my savings. So the SACCO will give you a multiplier of what you have saved. Say, for example, I have saved 150,000 shillings with SACCO X. Yes. So I would go to SACCO X. SACCO X would give me a loan form. So I would fill that loan form and indicate I want 150,000 shillings. So depending on the bylaws of this SACCO, SACCO X would extend to me 4 times my savings. But you need guarantors. So you'll find that most SACCOs are formed by individuals who have a common bond, a common interest. So I would go to these guarantors. They would guarantee that the SACCO should extend this amount of money to me and use their savings as guarantee that I will pay this money. So the second type of SACCOs that I referred to, which are known as deposit-taking SACCOs. So they offer both services and they offer front office service activities. So these ones have withdrawable deposits. So I can deposit my money with SACCO Y and they are withdrawable. So these are financial institutions that anyone who is looking to access to credit should turn to. And this is not just individuals, but also SMEs. If you allow me, I could comment on this and say that the financial landscape in Kenya has changed. When Kibaki was president of Kenya 10 years ago, financial institutions, banks, were literally hawking loans. I don't know whether, Hussein, you remember that period. Yeah. And SMEs and businesses were so vibrant because they had easy access to credit. But now we are living in a landscape where government borrowing and its fiscal framework and monetary framework has made it such that government borrowing is crowding out money from domestic borrowing, so that individuals like you and I can't turn to some of those financial institutions because they will not lend to us. So that has changed. But SACCOs are still providing access to affordable loans. So instead of turning to institutions and services that are giving you loans at very punitive interest rates, I think the SACCO model is the way to go. And SACCOs, unlike other financial institutions, are member-owned. So they are run under what we refer to as the cooperative business model. So the cooperative business model, unlike the capitalist business model, is friendly. It's geared to, its main objective is offering services to members as opposed to making profit.
Okay. Mr. Julius, hoping that you're still following the conversation, I wanted to ask you, being an employer, you know, and you are the only employer in the show, you know, that is quite encouraging, as my friend here has talked about. You are a youth. Now, I would want to know how you manage your finances and how you go about financial management and so on.
All right, okay. The first trick about managing your finances, just keep track of your financials and you're able to identify where the loopholes are. You can keep track of your financials very easily. You can even start with a basic, simple Excel sheet, which can help you monitor how you are spending. If you feel like this is not the best way to spend your money, just leave it. Just completely leave it. And another bit is also plan prior to, before doing anything, plan. If you want to invest on something, check on what are the outcomes and what can actually go wrong, and are you able to afford the loss of that kind of a project if anything goes wrong. So just plan on your resources, make sure that you're actually tracking your spending, and lastly, maybe you can also check on other softwares out there if you're a big company or other an organization, such as QuickBooks. And on the same, we also have some systems which can actually assist you or whoever is watching actually plan those financial records. So managing finances is very crucial. And another bit before I forget, it's usually about savings. Always make sure that you actually save. You actually don't save just for saving. Save towards a goal. If you want to invest in a certain project, save towards it. If you want to go for a holiday in Mombasa, no one will definitely bother about you because that's your money you are saving for and you're actually accountable for it. So save towards a goal and it keeps you on the go and on the toes so that you're able to focus on what you want to achieve at the end of it.
Okay. Before I forget, before we started having this discussion, by yesterday I went out asking people in your department, in your line of work, and all of them, they gave me a question to ask you. So I would want to ask you the question. One question was, how long does it take you to believe in yourself that you can be an employer or an employee in IT world? And what are the experience that are expected that comes with it?
All right. It takes as long as your commitment. It can actually take even months or years, but the nitty-gritties, or rather what exactly goes in when it comes to managing an organization, definitely takes also some time because you don't learn a skill within a day. So, but at the end of it all, it's definitely a commitment and consistency, and discipline. Yeah. So on the second bit, just you can feel free to actually go on the next.
The next question. Yeah. The next question is that what type of clients do Fourtech Global Solutions have?
All right. Our target clients, they're literally anybody. Anyone who is in event photography. We help you put your online presence out there through website or digital marketing. Digital marketing is an aspect whereby you're able to combine your website and your social platforms so that you're able to maximize them further. By maximizing them, I mean that we can actually offer you different packages. We can offer you the starter package, which will actually just put your business out there. We can also offer you a package which will actually generate leads for you, people who are interested in your business. We can also offer packages which are aimed at closing sales, depending on your kind of a business. So our clients range from young, youthful students to actually corporate clients who are aiming at achieving a certain solution to their current problem using IT.
Okay. Mr. Julius, before we move from you, because we are heading to the end of this show, I would want you to tell the audience the kind of offers that you are having. You told me before we started the show that you are having special offers for the clients that are coming on board, the new ones. Now, to the clients that are watching us from there, I want you to let them know the offers that you have for them.
All right, fantastic. Let me be very brief. Our offers are in web design. If you are looking to have a responsive, modern-looking website, visit us at Fourtech Global Solutions, and we'll actually deliver the website for you with actually 9,500, inclusive of hosting and domain for the first 1 year. Who doesn't like that offer? I don't think even my friend would actually be coming for it right away. Oh. So thanks a lot. And other things, you can actually feel free to go check on our site. We have different other items we normally deal with, ranging from hardwares to actually softwares. We have made so many partnerships so that we can actually make our clients have the best experience as possible.
Okay. Ngumbo.
Yes.
The last tech you'd want to say about savings.
Thank you, Hussein. I would want to speak mostly to the young people who are watching this show in terms of telling them that you need to save. And of course, there is also the temptation that when you get into employment, because here we are talking about employability, so we are mostly addressing young people who have gone into the employment world. There is that temptation to piga sherehe, as you young people say. It's not bad to piga sherehe, but you also need to know that there is tomorrow, and you need to save for tomorrow. You grow by savings or through savings. So my advice to you is you need to join a circle Identify a circle that works best for you. Save, save, save. Thank you. Thank you, Hussein.
Okay. Now, we've come to the end of this show, and I'm very grateful for them that have been following us because the show has been live on YouTube. And whatever has been said here, I think the points are home and everyone has gotten the point. Save, save, save. And if you head to the Fourtech Global Solution, their website, they can give you offers. And the website, 9,500, that includes the hosting. I think that is one of the best offers ever that I've ever had when someone gives you or design a website for you. My name is Hussein Robert, and this is the train show. Now I would want to give shout out to my friends because I'm in front of this camera. That definitely means there's someone behind the camera and there's someone who is producing everything. I want to say special thanks to the producer, Mudhoni Mwito. Thank you for ensuring that everything is going out as they are. Of course, the chief executive producer, Mr. Steven Korir. Thank you so much for making everything work, and the support on the camera. I had 2 camera people. Now that is Kevin Bahati. Thank you so much. And Buju, thank you so much. Also, thank you so much, Collins, and the social media. If you've been receiving those links and so on, I've not been the one doing it. Brian Kavalaji, thank you so much wherever you are. And Collins, thanks for the assistance and the lights and everything. To everyone that is following, on Friday, we're having shows lined up for you from morning to evening. In the morning, we have Zaki Kwetu by 1, Sam, and by 2, we have Roroa Show, Brian Kavalaji. And in the evening, we will be finishing with the Ragemania, Buju Danto, and Wasan Andrew. Without saying much, thank you so much, everyone. And to my guest, Mr. Laban, nimeshukuru sana, mjo wako ni wa maana sana. Mr. Julius, thank you so much for showing up. Again, we're going to have a show again and again, talking about financing and savings and so on, talking about tech and so on. But for now, I would want to bring this to the end and say that I'm very grateful for you showing up. And thank you so much. Thanks. Okay.
You can't manufacture food from the factory. You can't create food from thin air. So agriculture is actually what produces food.
There is a procedure that has been laid down by law, like in the Employment Act of 2007.
Now talking of a digital world, why don't we just find out how we can maybe use the machines to make agriculture more income generating?
There's this belief that we actually don't have enough financing, right? There was a point, I was part of a business incubator, and I got to see the other side of the equation.
I'm Hussein Robert, and this is the Train Show. A show that gives you more than 1,000 plus one reason why you should not give up. Wake up every day in the morning, roll up your sleeves and get to work.